bringing you some of the best speakers and teachers from across the globe. Their words inspiring you towards your best days. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast, Speakers Hub.
Good morning! Welcome to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. My name is still Jaggs, and I'm glad to see you join me for another great speaker. And of course, she is a great one. In the episode, we have the hard, straight-talking Carla Harris. During a CFA Society Nigeria event, a QA session with Carla had an interesting work-life balance question. A great insight from someone who has spent over 30 years in the investment banking world. Here is Carla and her pearls.
It's
Wonderful.
very clear that you've been assertive and intentional with your career. But I would like to hear from you about how you've managed your work-life balance, values, and staying true to yourself all through rising through your career.
Yes, thank you. The question is around work-life balance throughout my career. Very early on, I wasn't married and I didn't have kids, but I also had outside interests. And I promised myself when I started my career, if I had to work hard, I was going to play hard. Because one thing I knew for sure, that even if I was successful as a banker, I did not want to look in the mirror 10 years later and think, oh, I don't even know who that woman is. Or worse, I know she is, but I don't like her. So I knew that having the outside things in my life were going to be important. So I was intentional, just like I was intentional about managing my career. I was intentional about putting those things in my calendar. So I was not willing to compromise church. So even though back in the 80s, people would work 100-hour weeks, I would make sure that I would tell my team, I'll work all day Sunday if that's what you want, but 9 to 11, that's his. And I never had to compromise that. And I knew that I liked singing, so I made time during the week for lessons, or I made time every week to go to the Apollo every Wednesday. I'd sneak up to the Apollo, come back, and I work all night if that's what I needed to do. I made sure I spent time with my friends on the weekend. So if I knew I was going to work all weekend, Friday nights, I would make sure I hung out. Because if I had to be in there all day on Saturday, I had to be there all day on Saturday anyway. But Friday nights, I was going to spend time with my friends and build relationships. Then when I got married, I knew it was important to continue to invest in the relationship. My husband is a college professor. He runs one way. I travel this way. But I try to make sure that we have time with each other. We used to have date nights. Now that we have my little 3-year-old, we have date mornings. And they're with her, right? So I try to make sure that I get that time in there because any relationship will atrophy without an investment. That's a personal relationship or a parental relationship. So I have to be intentional about making sure where I put it in the calendar. And that may sound clinical, but at least it will get done somewhere in there. Sometimes it's just sitting down there having a conversation. So what are you doing? We haven't talked. So what's going on at work? And, and sometimes he'll be tired, but I'll make sure that we're connected and he'll do the same thing. So I think you just have to put it in your calendar. And as things come into your life that are important, you have to understand that no is a complete sentence. Right? Sometimes you have to say no. And that was hard for me, master executor. But now I'll say no. Somebody emailed me yesterday on the way here. Somebody's daughter unfortunately passed away and they wanted me to sing at the funeral. Now, my first reaction was, oh, I need to do that. And then I said, but do you? Do you? Right? This is not somebody that's really close to you, right? It's somebody that you like. But you have something else that morning. And if you do this, that means you won't have an opportunity to have breakfast with your daughter. Really? And that's a week that you're going to be traveling. Really? So you got to say, I'm sorry, send a really nice note, maybe send some flowers to the funeral. But you physically, Carla, you cannot do it. And that was tough, but I knew it was the right call. So you have to make those decisions and know where to cut it. Like my colleague up here said, she may not be there all the things, but when it counts, she's there. And this is somebody that I've never spent more than 5 minutes with who made the request, right? But still, I felt ooh, that's a tragedy. Ooh, I should go. But I'm like, really? You're not going to see her all week and you're going to miss breakfast with her? Can't do it.
That video can be found on YouTube and it's called Carla Harris, Tools for Maximizing Your Career Success. And it's published by the Motivation for Success YouTube channel. That is everything from me in this episode. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go and crush whatever it is you're doing. And if you can give the podcast a rating and a review, that would be incredible. Every review is read out on a future episode, and that will include yours. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.
The Learn, Develop, Live podcast, trying to help you understand this crazy world we live in.
I'm already confused!
Thanks for listening. You can find more motivation and inspiration at learndeveloplive.com. And we'll be back to inspire you again tomorrow.